All right, apparently we're now up and kicking. Sorry if you guys are rejoining the stream. Little technical issues. I think we got it all figured out. I got it live on on my computer real quick. Just double checking everything. That's a big watermark I have on this. I gotta somewhat change that size. Anyway, thank you guys for joining back again. Hopefully, we were gonna have to a rough start anyways, and of course it's a Monday, but we're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna have a good time. And I'm looking forward to today's episode. Let's stop wasting time, though, and let's dive right back into where we were, talking about Cooper Flagg and so far his summer league. It has come to an end, but that doesn't mean all for naught. Like I said, he had the two controversial games, that being against Bronny James and the Lakers, and we'll get into that game. But then we'll also get into his second performance against Dylan Harper and the Spurs. And I'm obviously going to be way more impressed with the game against the Spurs, not only because of his box score, but also just the team he was playing in general. So let's transition into looking at some of Cooper Flagg's highlights against Dylan Harper. We'll just have this going on in the background while we're talking about him. But this game, my main thing was the shooting. It's got to be the shooting. He gets a nice little lay here, plus the foul. Free throws, he did miss a couple free throws. Now, he talked about a post-game, how his mom would be disappointed, so I'm not too upset with that. But I would love to see him, obviously be way better at the charity stripe. Here you go, a little 1-2 dribble into a top-of-the-key three-pointer right there. Got his first three-pointer of the Summer League to go. And then a little drive mid-range, bang. And that's on Carter Bryant, the 14th, I believe, or 16th pick of the NBA draft. And this guy is known, he was drafted because of his defense. Perimeter, interior, we could look at this guy's clips. His defense is insane. But the reason why he was drafted so low or a late lottery pick is because of his offense. Now, we're not going to talk about his offense now. He came into the league to be NBA ready with defense, and that's what he has been. That's what he's been, without a doubt. He's been great defensively. He had a play earlier against Cooper Flagg in the top little wing area over here. And then he forced a turnover on Cooper Flagg as Cooper Flagg was trying to go behind the back or between the legs. Carter Bryant forced some friction there and forced the turnover. And he got off to a really good start on Cooper Flagg, forcing some shots. Like I said, this is 7:33 in the second quarter. He didn't score till halfway through the first quarter. So for Cooper Flagg, he had to settle in first, and that's what he was able to do in this game, even though he got off to another slow start, which I'm not panicking too much. More errors? What's going on? Not receiving enough of video to maintain smooth streaming. I just realized I wasn't even recording anyway. Oh, yeah. I just don't think it likes me very much today, folks. I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. Let me see if I turn the other objects in the room off Wi-Fi and see if that does anything. Because maybe there's just a lot on the network. What if I turn you off Wi-Fi? I don't need you. Is any of this going to fix anything? No, we might just have to go hardcore and record podcasts. The normal way. Ew. Let's see. What else? I can unplug this Roku TV in the back. Let's go. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what to do, man. You know what? Why don't we look this up? How to fix lagging stream. Because I didn't have this problem before. You know? Maybe that's it. Maybe I gotta reduce the bit rate. But for some reason I can't. Let's see if that's fixed anything. Streaming software connected to what, though? It still says it's not receiving enough video. Oh, man. I don't even know, man. It started off excellent, and then it just slowly went downhill. It's a shame. That's a shame. Well, I'm not going to press too much on the stream. Burrs, not only because of his box score, but also not enough. Oh, man. I don't even know, man. It started off excellent. It seems like it's working. Downhill. It's a shame. That's a shame. Well, I'm not going to press too much on the stream. You could see it. Burrs, not only because maybe I shouldn't show this. I don't think there's anything linking though. Not enough. Oh, man. See, it's working. We're Inception right now. It's working. I don't even know, man. All right, we're going to rock with it. It seems like it's working. We're going to rock with it. We're going to continue on, pretend like it's working perfectly fine. But I'm going to make sure I'm recording. Yeah, screw it. So, Cooper Flagg at this point. Let's take a look at this play. Oh, now my YouTube videos won't load. Here we go. We got a little dribble drive, pull up like we saw before. I know it's the same play. Here he gets a little fake screen drive with the lefty over Carter Bryant, the guy I was just talking about. That was a really good lay. Like I said, the finishing will be there. I'm not panicking on the finishing. There's a nice little contest on Bryant by Cooper Flagg. And then the play of the game, a little alley-oop from Nembhard, bang. Super highlight. I'm going to turn the audio on for that one.
Cooper Flagg flying charter here. Yeah, it's his first real moment to have one of these. Still has a lot left in the tank. Here's Flagg.
I mean, again, another lefty lay. Really clean by Flagg. I mean, he gets down on the hoop, able to elevate with the left-hand finish. Again, finishing was never the issue. And he was able to actually draw some fouls driving this game, getting to the charity stripe, which he was getting a lot of half-court fouls, right? Another great finish with the right hand at the end of the quarter. He had a great little, 5-second draw there. Let me... I mean, that was just great. And he has great athleticism, as we all know. I don't think it'll show his block. But then after this play, oh, right here. And those minutes after his dunk, and that was great. Again, he shows you he's going to be a superstar on both sides, on both ends of the court. And then another three-pointer he was able to catch and shoot, play off ball, which I think once Kyrie comes back, that's going to be huge for his success if he can play off ball. Then gets another one, Another 3-point shot. Dribble into this one, though, and bang. He had 3 3-pointers on the night, in very different fashions in all of them, which you love to see. Here's another little fast break. Back up to Cooper Flagg. Little dunk. I mean, again, him in transition is going to be a tough player to stop. It is going to be very tough for Cooper Flagg to be stopped in transition. And so, what does this mean for Cooper Flagg? Dropped 31 points in this game. What does this mean, right? Does this mean he is the next biggest superstar in the NBA, next face of the league, as people want to say? And I'm going to slow your roll. I'm going to slow your roll and say I think he's going to have a lot of growing pains in the league. I think the Mavs are going to put him in a fortunate position to be uncomfortable, right? He's going to be in uncomfortable positions while being able to rely on others to perform at an elite level, like an Anthony Davis, like a Kyrie Irving, right? He's going to have the shooting on the floor with the Klay Thompson, right? Hopefully with the D'Angelo Russell. And so if he does drive the ball, or if he does handle the ball, like the Mav organization is talking about, I think there will be some ups and downs early on for Cooper Flagg. But there'll also be opportunities that he'll have at the beginning of the season that he potentially won't have at the later half of the season. I'm really interested. I see more of a fit with him on this team right now without Kyrie Irving being able to kind of drive the offense, right? How will he play with Anthony Davis? It could be similar to how he, Kaman Malawach, how he played with him at Duke. Could be a lot of that, a lot of lobs. I mean, this Mavs offense, even with Luka, was massively dependent. I wouldn't say dependent, but they exploited the lob game to maybe a Hall of Fame level, especially in those playoffs with drop coverage in terms of pick and roll. They were able to manipulate that to really get them to the NBA Finals. And so with Cooper Flagg's playmaking and his driving ability, teams are going to have to deal with that a lot. And if he can develop that 3-point shot in his rookie year, that is going to be huge for the Mavs' success. And then they easily become in that tight bubble in the West that I believe are contenders. But there are some other guys in the Summer League right now that are balling. In this game particularly, he played Dylan Harper, the second overall pick. This was his first Summer League game. Let's take a look at some of his highlights from the same game. So, I didn't know too much about this guy at Rutgers, but he got off to a very solid start in this one. Nice little cut with the righty lay, scoop shot. I mean, just a very satisfying, aesthetically pleasing layup. His drive game is going to be there. He has the ability, to what they were saying in the scouting report, to lead an offense in the NBA. And then he has the defense on the other side, like that. That's nasty. That is nasty. That was nasty. And then you get a little play here on Cooper Flagg with, being able to just score through contact with a righty or lefty floater. Not too much of a contest from Flagg. Dylan Harper able to get that one to go. And so it's going to be a very interesting to see how the Spurs handle this, guard problem that they have. A luxury of goods with them trading for De'Aaron Fox mid-season. Stephon Castle, reigning Rookie of the Year. Now they have Dylan Harper and another transition little leg. He's going to be tough to stop in transition. And so for the Spurs, I could easily see this guy starting by Game 5, if not Game 1 for them. I mean, him and De'Aaron Fox, that's going to make for a very fast and quick backcourt. And again, this might be another defensive highlight, little steal off the inbounds pass, fast enough to... Ooh, I forgot about that. Yeah, but still fast enough that, sharp head to pretty much just save the bucket by any means. Clean play, but again, shows you how fast Dylan Harper is and explosive he is if he was able to get that dunk to go. So look at that stat line: 13 points off 5-11 shooting. Perfect from he was perfect from the charity stripe. He was actually on a minute restriction this game. I think he only played around 17 minutes this game. I could be wrong, but I think that's right. And so we, in a limited, playing time, he was still able to excel to a very solid level. I wouldn't expect him to play too much more in the summer league. Nice little pass there for the 3-pointer. My big thing for the Spurs is, do they have the shooting to contend? I definitely think the defense will be there with Wemby coming back. If you get a guy like, Harper in the backcourt, Carter Bryant playing some minutes, it's going to be a very hard team to score on in the San Antonio Spurs. And I think, with them, it's going to come down to their offense. And is their offense going to be good enough? That's going to be the major question mark for the Spurs heading into next season. But then we also have some other guys. Ace Bailey is currently dealing with an injury. I think it's some hip injury that he's dealing with, but he was able to play in Utah in the Salt Lake Summer League before the Vegas Summer League got started. And so let's take a look at some of his highlights. He had a down first game, but then his second game against the Grizzlies, he had a much better performance. And I'm going to talk about how I can see him kind of leading this Utah Jazz team. Nice little rebound there, able to do a little Dirk fade there with a clean swish. And so, yes, Utah for me is definitely one of the worst teams in the NBA. And so for Ace Bailey, he's going to have an opportunity to kind of do whatever he wants, in my opinion. I even think their ceiling is maybe the 10th seed in the play-in. If Ace Bailey turns out to be that dude, we'll look at a play here and sort of transition Ace Bailey there in the corner. Little quick release to hit three. His three-point shot was flowing this game. It seems like he's a very silk jumper. I mean, a quick release, smooth release. That's one thing you'd like to see. Obviously, he's had some drama there with, not wanting going to the Jazz. Ends up going to the Jazz, nice little alley-oop dunk. But at the end of the day, you got to play where you go, and I think he's going to do just fine. I wouldn't want to go to Utah either. They don't, especially since they just traded Colin Sexton, your point guard. I know they have Walter Clayton Jr., and we're not going to talk about him today. We'll talk about him in another episode. But that's maybe their point guard of the future. And so for Ace Bailey, I see him playing more of an off-ball role. Like you see there, he gets a little nice assist there. But I can see him playing off-ball, catch and shoot, maybe working in the post a little bit. Again, I'm not too familiar with his game at Rutgers and how that translates to the NBA, but I would say that's how I see him playing day one, especially playing with guys like Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen. See another little rebound. If he's able to do the little things, he's athletic enough to really punish defenses, and he's young enough to really just, kind of keep going. And so these are the plays I like to see from rookies. Do the little work, getting an offensive rebound, turning it into a dunk. I think that's where he's going to get most of his opportunities with the Jazz, is just doing those little things, working hard to score points. See another rebound. This guy could be an offensive rebound monster. And again, this is summer league, so I'm taking it with a grain of salt. But I'm really liking what I saw from this game from Ace Bailey. And so, moving along, it's going to be, interesting to see how he's developed. I'm rooting for the guy. I think if Utah can get a real star, as Walter Clayton bangs one there, off an assist from Ace Bailey. If Ace Bailey can true to be a star, it's going to be great for the league. If every team can have a star, it's great for the league. Right? Another long three there from Ace Bailey. I believe he only had 18 points, something like that this game, but still, you could see the strokes there. The jumper is there. It's going to be a very fun season to watch Ace Bailey develop and make in the league. But then, the Chinese Jokic, what people are calling Yang Hasen, for the Trailblazers, we'll just watch these highlights because the dude is a playmaking genius. Nice little cut there from the guard, and Yang just sees him, puts it right on the money. And then you would say that's a very simple pass, right? And it is. I mean, it's more on the cutter to get open. Gets a nice little dunk there. But then it's more repetition. Look at this one. Another backdoor cut, bang, easy lay. That's Jokic stuff. I saw this play, and that looks just like Nikola Jokic, right? With the one-arm pass there, put it right on the money. Now look, this guy's a complete question mark. Bigs in the NBA are a complete question mark, right? And so for him, I'm rooting for the dude. It would be fun as heck, right? Him on the defensive end, blocking shots. He wasn't too much on the scouting report of a defensive guy. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to translate into the NBA. But then he gets a nice little finish. And so could he be an offensive, engine for teams to play through? I think that's a great question. Gets a nice little bank 3-pointer there. Is the shooting going to go be there? That's what makes Jokic really dangerous, is teams have to play up on him, which opens up the driving or the cutting lanes for other guys like an Aaron Gordon to stay open. Maybe Cam Johnson will thrive off that as well. So, shooting is just a huge advantage for offenses to have. But then he gets a nice little righty lay, extend their lead to 22 there. And then again, open at the 3-point line. The defender's up on him, opens up the paint rather than the guy playing, off in terms of near the charity stripe. And so it opens up the cutting lanes. That's huge, especially for the big man, especially because he's going to have the big man. If you can bring the shot blocker out of the paint, that's going to open up your offense massively. Another paint protection here by Yang, laying it all out there. That's stuff that will make an NBA roster. That is stuff that will make you there. I mean, there's literally look at this thumbnail right there. That's just insane. So, it's just summer league. We're gonna readjust. We're gonna come back to these guys, these exact guys, the first week of the NBA season. See how they're doing. I expect all of them to get minutes, right? Especially with the Trailblazers, they took a reach on the guy. They're going to have to, put some minutes into him. Obviously, they have Killingham from, UConn, the big center that took over DeAndre Ayton's minutes. Obviously, they're in the post-Ayton era. So, I'm looking forward to see him and how he develops as a playmaker and a defender, right? And again, I'm going to stay shooting for all these guys because the NBA has become a shooting league. If you can't shoot, you're really going to play yourself off the court. And in his case, if he can't shoot and he potentially is a defensive liability, it's going to be a rough NBA career for him. Jokic isn't, I want to say, a defensive liability, but he's not a defensive playmaker. It doesn't mean, he's bad on that side of the court. But for him, he is just such an offensive engine that you can't take him off the court, right? You see the plus minus. It's no brainer. You can't take the guy off the court. And so could he develop into that? That's elite of the elite. That's Hall of Fame type level. And I think that's huge expectations to have a guy that was a reach in the draft. But can he be, a poor man's Jokic? I think that could pave himself a very successful career in Portland. But now let's transition into Cole Anthony going to the Bucks. And this may be like a little move. He was involved in the Desmond Bane trade. Him, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and 4 first-round picks were involved in the trade. Sent over to Orlando. Orlando gets Desmond Bane in return. I thought this was a really good trade for Memphis to get a guy like Desmond Bane, four first-round picks, get a vet like KCP, and then get a nice young guard replacement in Anthony. But apparently Cole Anthony didn't want to be there. I don't know if that was necessarily in Memphis's plans, but they did buy him out. And so now he is a free agent. And the rumor is he is going to sign with the Milwaukee Bucks. And I think this is a great fit for the Milwaukee Bucks because of their lack of a point guard position after they waived Dame. And so let's take a look at some of Cole Anthony's highlights from this past season and just talk about how he can fit into the rotation for the Milwaukee Bucks. So, offset, little off ball here with nice little drive. And I think for the Bucks, the main thing out of the point guard position, you're going to need some playmaking, right? They have a lot of scores at the guard position. And so, nice little shooting there. He did have a down year, so hopefully he's looking for a career resurgence with the Bucks, to boost his stock and potentially be a huge signing in the 2026 free agency period. And I think Milwaukee's a great fit, like I've said. But they need playmaking out of the point guard position, right? They moved off guys like Dame that could play make, right? You have guys like AJ Green, more of a shooter. Bobby Portis, more of a scorer. Kevin Porter Jr., more of a scorer. Gary Trent Jr., more of a scorer, right? They don't necessarily have too much of a playmaker. And I think Cole Anthony is more of the same in terms of a scorer. And so is it going to potentially, does he add playmaking to his game. And I think that's a huge question mark. And I think that really can turn the Bucks to a fringe contender to a very solid contender because they have one of the best front courts now in the starting lineup, Miles Turner and Giannis. They're 3 positions, maybe the weakest in the entire league with Kyle Kuzma, if he's the starter. A lot of people are asking for Kevin Porter Jr. to start. Then you have Gary Trent at the shooting guard, and then you potentially Cole Anthony starting as your point guard. So, especially with Giannis, if you could score every time with Giannis, you're going to do that, right? And I would assume with this Cole Anthony fit, they could potentially run more 5 out with Giannis at the point, let him create, and just have shooters all around him. Seems like he's a really tough finisher. And so when you look at the East and you look at Cleveland, Cleveland's gotten better, right? They got Alonzo Ball, traded him for Okoro. Boston's gotten worse. Pacers are gotten worse. And so it's really only Cleveland. That's a team that I'm like, right, Detroit here, they've gotten worse, in my opinion. I mean, the Malik Beasley situation is a tough one. We might have to talk about that one later on. Just an absolute fumble of the bag in all ways. Little give and go here. And I've seen a lot of paint scoring from Cole Anthony, which I think is a great thing, right? If you can't shoot, you got to find a way to create your shots and score your points other ways. And I love little paint scoring here. Kevin Porter Jr. for the Bucks is another similar play style, I think, with Cole Anthony. But like I said, Cleveland's gotten better, and I think they're the only team in the East that's gotten better, truly, besides Orlando. Them and Orlando, I think, are the top 2 seeds right now, and that leaves the door open for the Bucks to make some noise and be a top 3 seed, right? And I think it's a great opportunity for them to strike. Cole Anthony's a guy, young talent, has something to prove. He's going to play his butt off. He's looking for a big contract. He got a lot of noise out of Orlando. And so for him, it's going to be really important for him to develop a 3-point shot and also some playmaking skills for the Milwaukee Bucks. But I'm excited to see how he fits in Milwaukee. This is a move that Milwaukee luckily fell into their hands, right? He asked for a buyout from Memphis. And so with this move and some of the other moves Milwaukee makes, we're going to talk about them, not today, but in a later episode and why I believe in them. But the East is so wide open. Maybe the most wide open has been in years with injuries, with teams changing things up. I think there's a huge chance for Cole Anthony to have a bounce back year in 2025 and, in the Bucks as a whole, especially. So now, as we're not going to finish this whole clip of his highlights, just something to look at while I'm yapping. Let's take a look at the big question mark this offseason, and it's where is LeBron James going to go, right? And this is the biggest load of crap argument I've heard in a while. It's been just a ginormous waste of time, in my opinion. I don't think he's leaving the Lakers, and if I'm shocked, if he goes to the Lakers or leaves the Lakers in a buyout and a trade, consider me shocked. Consider me shocked, especially if it's on a trade. Especially, right? First off, it would have happened by now. Right? Like, LeBron's not stupid. He understands the importance of a training camp, right? And in his entire NBA career, when he left Cleveland the first time, when he left Miami the second time, when he left Cleveland the second time, he left in free agency when teams didn't have to give up any assets to get him. And he had the opportunity to opt out of his contract. Now, it was a very expensive deal, probably more than he would have gotten in the free agency market. I could be wrong, especially with a guy like LeBron. You're going to get the headlines, you're going to get the jersey sales, all that. But he opted into his 50-something mil contract. He's a free agent next season, and so maybe he's like, I can just play this season out and then go to another team. That could be an option for sure. But he would have opted out if he wanted to go to another team. 1,000%. There's no chance he would have been like, I'm going to opt in, and then I want to be traded to the Mavericks. I want to be traded to the Celtics. I wanted to be traded to the Cavs. That's just not happening, right? Because that weakens the championship contending team that you're going to if he really wants to compete for championships. I don't think his best chance was in LA. I think he should have opted out and signed with a team like Cleveland. That would have a very poetic ending to his NBA career. I think Cleveland would have and should have opened him with open arms. But that's not the case. He's stuck in LA. The team's pretty much admitted they're shifting their focus to Luka, which is the right decision. Signing guys to 2-year contracts is strange, and we'll talk about that later this week. But for LeBron and the Lakers, let's take a look at his odds in terms of his next team. And we'll talk about where I like his fit the most. First off, with the Dallas Mavericks, it would have to be a buyout situation. No way in heck am I the Mavericks trading any pieces for LeBron James, because right now your depth is a strength. But for the Mavericks, your starting lineup would potentially be D'Angelo Russell to start the season. D'Angelo Russell, Cooper Flagg, assuming you maybe potentially have to move off Klay Thompson, Cooper Flagg, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Derek Lively. With LeBron James is able to space the floor a little bit, give you more athleticism than a Klay Thompson, can't handle the ball. I don't hate the fit, but I would hate him on the Mavs. I do not want him on the Mavs. I will say that with my chest out. I do not want LeBron James on the Dallas Mavericks at all. I don't want it. I don't want it. The team I would love him to go to is the second place team in terms of odds, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like I said, storybook ending, but also they have a great fit for him. They have a great front court, assuming they're able to retain those two guys. Then you have a scorer in Donovan Mitchell. And last time you saw him play with a really elite, quick playmaker was Kyrie Irving. And they were able to excel that way. And he also, the last time, he kind of gets all his archetypes back. He gets, Donovan Mitchell, more of a Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving-esque type scorer. I would say more Dwayne Wade style. And then you get Evan Mobley, Defensive Player of the Year, Anthony Davis archetype. I mean, it would just be a great fit for LeBron. Their small forward spot is kind of an open gap right now. And so I think they could, you could just place him perfectly in the mix like that. So I easily that would make the Cavs my East winner, though. If he were to go there for a year, I would say Cleveland's winning the East, even over teams like the Knicks, the 76ers. I think it would be easily in the Cavs. Their odds would skyrocket for sure, too. Then you have the Golden State Warriors. And, look, the Warriors are already kind of a mess to begin with. I hate their roster. I do. But then you would potentially have Curry, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, LeBron. Maybe you have to move off Jimmy Butler in that trade, which I love that trade for actually both teams. If it was a 1-for-1 swap, I'd be like, okay, because you get more of a playmaker out of LeBron. It can help with Curry's off ball, and then Jimmy's more of a defender, which can help the defensive needs of the Lakers. But for this fit, I actually don't hate it, especially like I said with the playmaking. I just don't think you can play him and Draymond on the court together. I would have to see that fit. Obviously, LeBron James can play off ball, catch and shoot. If Draymond's playing the power or the point forward position, I think he would love it in Golden State personally. Still in LA or still in California. Let's play with Steve Kerr. Play with the guy he's always wanted to play with, and Steph Curry. That's a great fit. It would be an annoying fit though, because I think the Warriors are like, even with LeBron, I think they're as high as a 5 seed in the West. Then you have the New York Knicks. This is the biggest blockbuster move I could think you could make in terms of the headlines and the media. The media would go crazy if LeBron was a New York Knick. Crazy. But I also don't like the fit as much, right? I think LeBron plays great when he has, an elite dunker and some shooters around him. And with New York, that was kind of their downfall a little bit, was their shooting. Karl Anthony Towns, to me, is really a power forward, just in terms of the way he plays. They don't have a true center. I know they have Mitchell Robinson as a shot blocker, but he kind of was on and off the court in terms of just his free throw ability, which was a huge letdown in the postseason. And so for the Knicks, they're kind of also one of those middle ground teams. Now the East is open, right? If I had to choose, a conference that I would put my money on him going, I would say he's going to the East, right? Because if he could go to the NBA Finals one more time and then call it a career, he'd be like, look, I made it like NBA Finals my final season or something like that. And so maybe it's Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Kat, LeBron, OG Anunoby. I mean, that's a deadly first 5. And so, I don't hate that pick. It would be cool to see, LeBron on another big market team. But I just don't think it moves the needle too much for the Knicks as a whole. Then you have the Spurs. I just don't see the Spurs making a move for LeBron, unless, again, it's a buyout and they can sign him. I don't see him going to the Spurs regardless. Same thing with Philly. I don't, unless it's a trade for like Paul George, but why would you do that? I kind of hate that fit even more in Philly. They're more of a point guard driven team, especially with Joel Embiid being in and out of the lineup. Even with Joel, I think now they've some great guards there with drafting VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain coming off an injury. They have a very stout backcourt in my opinion, and I think that'll translate to success, more success this season than last season for the 76ers. And maybe they can get a bounce back year from Paul George. The Nuggets, not happening, and the Timberwolves are more likely than the Nuggets. They have the same odds here, but I think the Timberwolves would more likely make a move. But would LeBron James want to go to Minnesota? If LeBron James is going to go to a small market team, he's going back to Cleveland. I don't think he's going to any other market. But again, this fit, I would assume maybe Julius Randle would get moved in this situation. Same archetype a little bit. But then you got Naz Reid, Ant, Jaden McDaniels, sorry. I don't know. I think that would be an interesting move for the Timberwolves. I do think it makes it better. They do need an offensive initiator once, Ant's off the court or off the floor. They got that in Naz Reid, Julius Randle a little bit, but with LeBron, you get a little bit more of an elite level with that and another natural scorer at all three levels, whereas Julius Randle's not much of a three-point shooter, even though his three-point shot wasn't bad last year. Naz Reid's more of a shooter. So it bounces off their offense a little bit for Minnesota, and that would raise their ceiling massively, though, for sure, massively. So in terms of those teams, if I had to pick, I would say Cleveland number one. He's going to Cleveland, in my opinion, if he's going anywhere. I would say then the Warriors. I could see himself buying him out and then going to join the Warriors, play with Curry for a year. That would just be crazy. That would break the internet. And then he stays with the Lakers. Those are my only three real. I only have two. It's either Cleveland or LA. And that's it. He's not going to the Clippers. He's not going to the Mavericks. He's not. The Mavericks will always be on top of these lists because of, the trades and whatnot, but I just don't, unless it's a buyout and he signs for the vet minimum, And my thing with LeBron going to the Mavs, if that's ever the case, is the fact that LeBron comes with so much baggage in terms of the attention he gets, and if he wins the ring, it's his ring and not necessarily the Mavs ring. And I'm just kind of like, I would just roll my eyes because it feels like it's really less than a championship, right? When he won with Cleveland, when he won with Miami, in my opinion, those were legitimate championships. LA, they kind of, they were a great team. I'm not selling that short. In the bubble, that's a whole other debacle of the bubble. But when LeBron won, it's like, oh, we won another championship, right? We didn't necessarily grow this championship. Whereas with the Mavericks right now and how they're constructed, they got Kyrie. They've re-signed Kyrie. Kyrie's kind of their guy now. The 80 thing will be interesting in terms of how he's perceived being an NBA champion. Obviously, this is thinking, if they were to win one. Klay Thompson's the guy where it's like, yes, it's a Mavericks championship, but he gets his fifth, which is very cool. Right, and then you get some other guys like Derek Lively. Dallas drafted him. If Jaden Hardy stays on the lineup and he plays important minutes, guy that Dallas drafted. But then also Cooper Flagg. Oh, snap, he won his, championship in his first couple years. That's huge in terms of starting his legacy as a Dallas Maverick. So that's why I just don't want LeBron, because LeBron comes, it's LeBron's championship, not your team's championship, right? And then also, if LeBron wins a championship with any team, and this is the credit to LeBron for being a great player, but he's more than likely going to win that Finals MVP. And in my opinion, I'd want it to be a guy like AD or a Kyrie or a Cooper Flagg or someone that's already on the Mavs currently, rather than a guy like LeBron, where it's kind of like, oh, he kind of just ring chased and he got the Finals MVP, and that steals it. Because the Finals MVP, another championship could change a lot of things for LeBron's legacy, right? 5 ties him with Kobe, 1 shy of Jordan now instead of 2 shy, right? 5 championships is a lot different than 4. He gets 1 more than Steph Curry and all those guys. But, there's also a sense where it's like if Kyrie Irving wins the second ring and wins Final MVP, How does that change his legacy? That changes it massively. And I mean massively. A 2-time champion, 1-time finals MVP, that would change things for Kyrie. I think there would be a strong chance he becomes a top 100 player all the time in terms of the NBA, like top 100, top 75, because he got screwed out of that already. But then if AD wins, he wins out with LeBron, two-time NBA champ, 1-time finals MVP. That changes things for him all time. Maybe people look at his career in a different light. Yeah, he would maybe be a little injury prone, but when he played, he was a beast, and he won with 2 different teams, right? And that's credit to LeBron, right? Winning with different teams is massive. You think about how hard that is, right? Now, again, leaving in free agency, whatnot, trading your team like a Kevin Durant, that's a different situation, right? And LeBron's done that. I'm not trying to shy away from that. But, in an AD situation, he was traded. That was against his will. I don't think he wanted to be traded, in all honesty, and I don't blame him, right? When you're all settled down, you think you have a nice career in LA, then you wake up in the middle of the night, oh, hey, we traded you to Dallas. You'd be like, what? What? There was this huge fuss of me getting here in the first place. We won the championship. We're still somewhat of a contender, right? I'm playing some of the best ball of my career this season. He was at the beginning of the season. And then they ship him off for a guy like Luka. And I think, for AD, that completely changes that trade 1,000%. Because right now, AD's still getting some bad PR just in terms of how the whole trade went down. So is Luka. They're both teams are losers in the trade. In all honesty, the Mavs look like fools, as they should. And then the Lakers are kind of like, is this Luka guy going to live up to all that? Now, I think, obviously, it's way too early. The next 3 years, we'll know if it was a good trade or not. And so, for the Mavericks, it's going to be important for them. Or the reason why I want the Mavericks to win is because it's important to the guys that are there that they win. And they get credit for the win, rather than a guy like LeBron coming in and stealing all of the glory, like I think he would with any other team. With any team here on this list. Even if, I would find it very hard if the Lakers were to somehow go to the NBA Finals and win it all this next upcoming season, and Luka balls out, but so does LeBron. I find it very hard they give it to Luka, very hard over LeBron, because they'll be like, oh, but LeBron was playing it on both sides of the court. They'd find some BS to steal from Luka, and that's why Luka's got to get out of LA. And we'll talk about that in another episode on how I want Luka to leave LA and go to another team. But for now, that'll close this LeBron talk for a little bit. And that will actually bring our episode to a close. It does say way too early NBA contenders, and I kind of stated them there in terms of, the kite little bubble. But you have, OKC, Denver, and one of those teams. We'll save that for a more in-depth top rankings, similar to some other guys in the media and how they do their bubbles. We'll do a ranking of NBA champions in the middle of July. So that'll do it for this live stream and this podcast. Thank you guys for joining for another one. We had some technical difficulties. It seems like it's kind of similar to a download speed where it's up and down, the live stream. I haven't paid too much attention to that in the other streams, and maybe that's a good thing, right? I'm already streaming to nobody, so who cares if it's great quality or not in terms of the Wi-Fi. Anyways, again, make sure to follow me on social media. Most important one is X, AJU Sports. That's my handle on X. Make sure to go follow me over there. That's where you get way more instant reactions to stuff like that outside of the shows. You can also go follow the YouTube page, All Jacked Up Sports. And if you can't ever make a live show, don't worry. You can listen to You Don't Know Jack on wherever you get your podcast. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, literally name it, and it's most likely on there. So make sure you look up You Don't Know Jack. We got the new logo, new everything. Super excited about it. We'll see you guys again tomorrow at 11 a.m. sharp Central Time, 12 Eastern. I'm excited. Have a great, wonderful rest of your Monday. And let's have a day, everybody.